Now we're going to look at some good ones. There's 3 good ones. Because there are good ones. Alright, this one is made by a foreigner who lives in Korea. I believe she's from India. I don't remember why I think that. So it's kind of hard to read. It says, things every foreigner should know before taking a local bus in South Korea. Local bus is like a neighborhood bus. They are different from the city buses. So this is very good advice, actually very helpful. And then the description says, oh, it's really hard to see here. Things every foreigner should know before taking a local bus in South Korea. 1, always carry a T-money card. You need it to tap when entering and exiting the bus. That's correct. You can't pay with like online pay, and you can't do cash anymore. They just stopped doing that in like August and so. 2, don't forget to tap out when you get off. Otherwise, you'll be charged extra. Yes, you'll get an extra fee, and it's technically you might get in trouble. Like you might, like if there's a station cop at the station you get on after this or something, you might get in trouble because they're cracking down on that a little bit more, because a lot of people won't check out and they'll just like jump over the thing in the subway, or they'll just like leave the bus without it. So you tap on when you get on, and then you hit your bus stop, which is another one. You hit the button, or you ring the bell or whatever when your stop is coming up, and then the bus driver knows to stop there, and then you tap it on the way out and you scan it. That's how it knows how much to charge you based on the distance you went. 3, it's really hard to see. Oh, here we go. 3 different colored buses mean different routes. Blue, main routes. Green, local routes. Red, express buses. Yellow, circular routes. That's correct, yeah. A yellow is also often a school bus color, so I just don't go on the yellow ones, even if they are the city buses. So there's light blue, there's dark blue, there's light green, there's I don't think there's a dark green. There's red, and then the red usually goes between cities. Like if you're going from Seoul to like one of the cities in Gyeonggi-do, like outside of Seoul, it's more like a Greyhound type of bus in the US. 4, press the stop button before your stop, otherwise the driver may not stop. That's correct. 5, enter from the front door and exit from the back door. Yes, there's 2 separate doors. They are noted, but usually in Korean, especially on the local buses. In 6, priority seats are reserved for elderly, pregnant women, and people with disabilities. Yeah. No shaming anyone for sitting in them. No trying to dictate where people go, what happens. No assigning morality to any of these. This is just helpful advice for people who might not know. Yeah. No condescending tone, nothing like that. This is very helpful. And she's on a bus. And she's not filming, I assume it's a she. She's not filming any people's faces, which is very polite, very nice, very cool. She's not exaggerating anything. She's not like making it exciting or anything when it's not exciting. It's just a very helpful, very useful, good thing to save if you're trying to travel to Korea.
So a couple of my friends are going to Korea later this year, and they asked me for advice because I've been before, so I thought I'd also share that advice online. The first thing I recommend is to buy a T-money card as soon as you land at the airport. And this is going to be used for public transportation there. And this is because South Korea still doesn't really accept Apple Pay or electronic payments for public transportation. So it's really important that you get it as soon as you land.
That's very helpful advice. A lot of people don't know that. Also get a SIM card if you're going to be there for longer than like 2 months. You can pre-order a SIM card at the airport. You can pick it up at the airport. It's a prepaid, or sometimes you can do postpaid, and you don't need an ARC, like an ID card in Korea. You can just use your passport. It's more expensive, but like you can do it that way. Those are 2 things. A T-money card, which you have to use cash to buy. So you have to have Korean cash to buy it, I believe, and you have to use cash to refill it, but you can refill it at the convenience stores or the subway stations. And you use it for buses and subways. Very important to have. I always have one with me, even though I don't use it. I use a debit card, a checking card in Korea with a bank account. Some of them can work as transportation cards. Sometimes they don't work though. So, because like the chip gets scratched or something, and fucks you up. I was late to school one day because of that. That's very helpful advice, and advice that I haven't seen other people giving. The SIM card one, pretty well known among foreigners in Korea now, because a lot of us have made the same mistake, but especially when we came over during COVID, we had no way to use our phone or Wi-Fi at all.
The next thing is to make sure you keep all your receipts for tax refunds. At a lot of stores, if you show your passport, you can get a tax refund receipt. So when you're leaving Korea, I recommend getting to the airport a little bit early so you have time to process all your tax refunds.
That's extremely helpful. A lot of people don't do tax refunds very often, especially if you're not used to traveling abroad. If you go, always bring your passport when you're shopping in Korea and always ask, can you do a tax refund? Or do you do a tax refund at most stores? They're either going to already prompt you with an option if you look for it. Like they ask me all the time, I say, oh, no, I live here. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. You can only claim your tax refund when you're leaving. So it's like it gives you back the money you paid in taxes so that you take it home, because you don't need to be taxed on it because you're not contributing to the local economy, because you're not part of the local economy, you know? And it's like an incentive to get people to buy more stuff over here. When I came here in 2018, I didn't know to do that, and I didn't do that, and I wasted a bunch of fucking money because I bought a bunch of stuff, and I could have gotten a lot of tax refunds. And I didn't know to do that.
The last thing I recommend is to download
me to
some
do that
necessary
back then, because tourism
South Korea
wasn't
doesn't use Google
intense
Maps, but they
back
use
then.
this app called Naver Maps, which I honestly find a little bit better. Really good for navigation.
There's Naver Maps and Kakao Maps. I like Naver Maps. I fuck Kakao Maps. Sorry. It's not accurate. It's led me wrong a few ways. Sometimes it is more accurate than Naver, but I trust Naver more. It's easier for me to navigate with. Google Maps doesn't have like satellite rights to be over the peninsula, I think, or something like that. So it doesn't have
another app I recommend downloading is
anything,
Kofun because it's really good for translation. It has a really cool live translation feature where you can say a phrase in English and it would automatically play the Korean translation. This is really good if you're talking to locals or they don't know how.
Papago is shit now. Use this one that she's recommending. Papago is garbage. Ass cheek garbage.
Make sure to save this video and follow for more because I'll be dropping more tips and tricks. It's not good anymore. It got bad. Right, so she's doing the content creator thing, but she's actually giving helpful, non-condescending, non-rude, bigoted bullshit advice. These are things that are helpful that I don't see other creators talking about. This is very helpful. And then number 3, the last one. That's a good one.
Doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens here, right?
That is one of the first times I've seen a Korean admit that publicly. Most Koreans, Gyopos and Koreaboo, the second type, including Gyopos, want to play like Korea's perfectly safe. It's not. There's a lot of crazy shit that happens. Femicide is extremely common here. I don't know if femicide is listed as an actual crime in Korea, but the murder of women and females, girls, women, is very common. Sexual assault is extremely common. Gangnam-gu is actually, if you know that, Gangnam-gu is the most rape-heavy part of Korea. Every year has the most reported and prosecuted rapes in Korea almost every year. A specific section in Seoul that includes Gangnam or Gangnam. Like, you know, oh, Gangnam Seoul, that's where that is. Gangnam is like an area within Gangnam-gu. Gangnam-gu is kind of like county. Gu is like county. So yeah, it's very, very, very unsafe. But not so much like as the U.S. But it is still not safe. Like you can't trust everybody here, you know.
Now, if you didn't know already, the police number in Korea is 112. Just think 1 plus 1 equals 2. Easy to remember, right? Once you call 112, there might be situations where you can't actually speak. Maybe you are in danger. Maybe someone is nearby, or maybe you don't speak Korean. But don't worry. All you have to do is press any number repeatedly, like 7777 or 3333. Any numbers works. When you do that, it sends a signal to the police that you might be in danger. Then the police will send you a text message. Inside the message, there will be a link. When you tap the link, it opens a web page that looks similar to Google. But what it's actually doing is activating your camera and sharing your location with the police. So whatever your phone is pointing at is being recorded and sent to the police. Now you know. Korea is generally a very safe country.
He has the other like things, other like numbers, emergency numbers to call and stuff in the caption. That's wonderful information. That's great. That's so helpful because I actually didn't report my own sexual assault in Korea because I thought I wouldn't be able to get help because I couldn't speak Korean. So had I been able to do that, I wouldn't have been assaulted. Had I known that was an option, had I known that most police stations have translation lines available at all hours, I wouldn't have been assaulted. Now I know, because I had to call the police for another situation for a friend of mine, but I didn't know. I didn't know that. Even in a place that's not like Seoul, they still do have translation services and stuff like that, and some of the cops can speak enough English to know what you're saying, at least to get you help, or to get to your location, because also they can trace your call from where you are, and they can find you if you stay on the line long enough. I didn't know any of that, and if I knew that, then I would not have been assaulted, sexually assaulted that one time. There were other times, but like that one specifically, the first time, I would have been able to avoid that. That is helpful information, especially, I really like the fact that he admitted that Korea isn't flawless. That is chef's kiss beautiful. That's a perfect example of a helpful video about two foreigners advising them when traveling to Korea. Okay? There's a difference. The good ones weren't condescending. They weren't assigning morality to anything. They weren't lecturing you about culture or respect or whatever. Or when in Rome, do as the Romans do, whatever. It wasn't any of that fucking bullshit. That's all actually very common. Those are all like common, I don't know if dog whistle is the right term for it, but they're common phrases that Koreans and Gyopos and Koreabus who like type 2, Koreabu type 2s, who they use that to shame foreigners who don't perfectly assimilate and just lay down and roll over and do what everyone wants them to do. If you don't fit into the status quo in Korea, you will be pulverized until you either do, die, or leave. I am one of those people that refuses to die, do, or leave. I'm going to do it the way that I need to do it, but I'm doing it in a way that's respectful to Korean culture. Fuck the society. Hell yes to the culture. There's a difference, right? And that's why I don't really get on well in Seoul. I get on well in more, not traditional areas, but more like community-based areas like Bucheon. Or like Gwangju. Gwangju is kind of changed now, but like there's other places like that, right? Satellite cities are typically better for me than larger cities because of that. So larger cities are going to be a lot more Americanized, a lot more individualistic, a lot less community-minded, and a lot kind of like crueler. Whereas satellite cities are going to be a little bit, they have enough accommodations as for you as a foreigner, but they also don't necessarily hold you to the very superficial and plastic standards that Seoul does. And I mean that in an etiquette way as well. It's very superficial. In Bucheon, people don't push. But people from Bucheon are seen as less civilized than people from Seoul because they're poor. Or they live in a less expensive area. But people in Seoul will two-handed shove you off the elevator. Hey, you're an adult. Fucking wait. Did you not learn that in school? That's crazy. In Bucheon, they would never. I had a grandma help calm me down during a panic attack when the subway was too overcrowded. And so then, because she helped me during a panic attack in the middle of a very, very, very tightly packed subway train that scared the fuck out of me, I still don't like thinking about it. It was horrible. She had a hard time getting off the train, and we were getting off at the same stop. So I grabbed her hands and I helped her get out of the train while people were crowding and swarming around. Yeah, we've never seen that lady again. I don't know where she is or who she is. It doesn't matter. We just help each other. That's the Bucheon style, right? Typically, I mean, there's people of all types everywhere. That's the style of actual Korea. But places like Seoul is very much like, get the fuck out of my way. I'm more important than you. I need to be on this train more than you do because I have a job. Hey, guess what? I also have a job, or I have school, or I have whatever. So it's very different now. And when you hear a Korean person or a Gilpo or another foreigner preaching about respecting Korean culture, red flag. Because 9 times out of 10, actually 10 times out of 10, they're going to cite some bullshit that is not Korean culture. They're going to cite something about racism. Oh, like a lot of times a lot of the Koreaboo type 2s will talk about how like, oh, well, Koreans have been very homogenous for so long. So when they say they want to keep their bloodline pure and that's why they don't want their son to marry a dirty foreigner, it's not racist. It's just Korean culture. I'm like, that's really insulting to Korea. Eugenics and racism is not culture that you want to have. It may be a tradition. It may be. I don't know. I haven't looked into that. I actually probably should. That's an interesting topic. But it's not culture. So a lot of times when uninformed and uneducated people try to stand for a country or a culture, they end up actually kind of insulting it in a sense. And it's not very fun, and it's not very cool, it's not very respectful. So to be like, well, Koreans are racist because of their culture, you should respect their racist culture, that's bad to Koreans, because that gives them a bad name. Racism is not a part of culture. It's a part of society, but it's not a part of culture. In fact, Korean culture is very much a hosting culture. If you actually look at true Korean culture, these people who are being nasty to foreigners for an imagined situation with an imaginary foreigner in a hypothetical imagined timeline are actually doing something that's antithetical to Korean culture. Korean culture should welcome guests according to the culture, not what I think, according to the actual culture of Joseon, which is the most recent Korean civilization or country, nation, I don't know what the right word is, before the Korean War. The civilization and nation that Koreans, hold on my dog, stop. The civilization that Koreans today invoke the most when talking about their heritage is Joseon, because it lasted for a very long time. It was a very long time before the Korean War, okay? It survived 2 Japanese occupations, or at least one of them. So it was quite serious. So it was a very long time. And in Joseon culture, it was more important to focus on inner beauty than outer beauty. Crazy for the plastic surgery capital of the world, where people will give their daughters a chin shaving surgery that has a mortality rate in the above 50%, as a gift for their 19th birthday, their coming of age birthday. And that's seen as a good thing. For a country where it's not seen as rude to say, oh, you'd be pretty if you lost weight, that doesn't track with Joseon times. For a country that focuses heavily on Western culture, and like ideals and wanting to aspire to be like the Western white man or whatever, it's not very Joseon of you. For a country that chastises visitors for being visitors, it's not very Joseon of you. For a country that forsakes their history in honor of nationalism, it's not very Joseon of you. Taking away hanja on the official buildings from history is not something that King Sejong would be cool with. He was the one who contracted Hangul to be created. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google it. Like it's an interesting story. So it's this hypocrisy, this lack of understanding, and it's coming from a place of, partially from the Koreans, it's coming from a place of nationalism and also some lack of information about their own history and culture, because the school system got Americanized as well. It also comes from Gyopos trying to fit in with Koreans, because Koreans don't really consider them Korean, but Gyopos are not considered foreigners either, so they're not really welcomed into the foreigner community, and they're not really welcomed into the Korean community. So a lot of times they will buddy up to the Koreans who are oppressing foreigners, specifically the Koreans who are oppressing foreigners. Not all Koreans do, but they will buddy up to, like, let's say, for example, the shitty boss, and then they will become like the spy. So they'll like befriend all the foreigners and be like, oh my god, yeah, and all this job sucks, what's the worst part for you? And then they'll go tell all that shit to the boss and get the foreigners in trouble. That happened to me. So a lot of foreigners, especially the ones who work in hagwons, don't trust Gyopos. A lot of foreigners, especially black people in Korea, don't necessarily trust Gyopos, because after all, they're going to sell you out to buddy up with the Koreans to prove their Koreanness. It's very interesting. I don't understand it necessarily from a point of like, because I am the privileged demographic in both Korea and America, but like Korea, I'm the privileged foreigner demographic, for example. So sometimes I do get treated better than certain Kyopos until I open my mouth and speak my mind, and then they're like, get the fuck out of here. Oh my god. But then also, there's this intersection of like insecurity that Kyopos feel about living in Korea and belonging in Korea, and then Korean nationalism, and the Kyopos are often going 127,000% into the nationalism, whereas the Koreans are just kind of like 120% there. So like, it's a little bit over the top and weird. A lot of times the Kyopos that don't live in Korea are the worst about it. Because they're like, yeah, my Korean brothers, they hate America. Ooh, stop the steal. Like, that's not what Korea's saying. They fucking didn't like you. Like, they kicked them out. Like, stop that. That's so weird. A lot of times there is resentment from the Koreans to the foreigners, especially in the workplace, when they share a workplace, especially when there's Kyopos, who are treated as if they're Koreans, but technically they have a learning curve because they're not raised in Korea. So they're treated as the Korean workers, so they're paid less than the foreign workers. They're treated they're with a little bit less grace, at least a little bit less grace, usually a lot less grace about things. They're like, oh, you're Korean, you should have already picked up Korean better than that white bitch over there. She obviously is too stupid to learn it. You should know it. It's in your DNA. And that's not how DNA works, you know? So there's a lot of like misconceptions about what DNA and like genetics can do with culture, because Confucianism is intertwined. It says that DNA and culture are intertwined, and it's not necessarily in like the way that Korea is trying to make it be. For Kyopos. So Kyopos have an unreasonable standard to live up to that they can't reach, and they're trying to reach it, and the fastest way to get up the rungs of that ladder to reach it faster is to throw foreigners under the bus, and they do that a lot. Foreigners, often the Koreabu, type 2 Koreabus, they carry water for the abusive Koreans, and if you don't know what that means, look up the quote, women who carry water for the patriarchy are the first to drown. That's what I'm talking about. They're doing the legwork. They're out there fighting the battles against their fellow foreigners in order to buddy up with the Koreans. A lot of times it's also just being a pick-me. A lot of times it's white spouses of Korean people. Specifically, there's two different types of it. There's the white women from whatever country, it doesn't matter. White women who marry Korean men, and also Southeast Asian women who marry Korean men, a lot of times are like this, where they're like, you should be grateful that you got a visa at all. I don't care if it's a shitty visa that allows you to pay money to go to school but not to work. You shouldn't have chosen that visa. You should pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Blah, blah, blah. They take on the really shitty, oppressive language of the Korean men that had to marry outside of their country because they couldn't find a Korean woman that would tolerate them. I sound hateful, but that's what it is. And so they take that on in order to like back up their hubby, but their hubby doesn't love them. Like, it's very, very, very contentious. It's very bad. I've seen a lot of these situations, and a lot of these women are deeply, deeply, deeply unhappy, and they take it out on other foreign women. And they're deeply unhappy because of their marriage and the way that it's going. It's quite interesting. The way that white men who married Korean women is very much, they're usually more like, well, I had an easy time here because I came here on a residence visa and I made 4 million won a month back in the 80s. So I was the Elon Musk of Korea. You should be too. Just demand a better salary. Just negotiate better. You determine the wages that you accept. Like that bullshit. That's the kind of guys that marry Korean women here, and then they preach about it. And they're like, well, I never make less than 3 million a month. Okay, cool. That's not reasonable for the rest of people. Congratulations, you came over here during the Chun Doo-hwan dictatorship, and you could do whatever the fuck you wanted, and you married a Korean, and you have a perfect visa, and you're fine. Congratulations, you're succeeding as a man in a patriarchal nation. Wow, good for you. You tried so hard. Like, that's crazy. I know men in Korea who struggle to survive here. And those men never talk like that. Even if they're married to a Korean, they're like, there's a hard time here. It's a hard time. It's tough. I get it. So those who come here on the marriage visa and are privileged back home are usually rat garbage, cockroaches in human form, for both men and women. It's pretty gross behavior. And those who, a lot of times Southeast Asian women will find the fact that they got a Korean husband as like a status symbol. So they talk down to other foreign women who don't have a Korean husband because I didn't get picked. I'm like, I don't want your oppa. Fuck him. I hate him. He's ugly. I don't care. I'm getting a PhD. I'm not worried about a man right now. I'm getting my own visa first. And that's not to shame people who get the marriage visa. That's a wonderful visa option. If a man married me right now, I would get the marriage visa tomorrow. I don't fucking want to be on the student visa anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of not being able to work and earn income, but having to pay tuition and proving my income is the same level after months of paying tuition. I can't have any less money in my account than when I first applied. But I'm not allowed to earn income. It's exhausting. It's frustrating. It's annoying, and it's a system that's designed to keep non-rich people out of Korea, right? And I'm struggling. I'm trudging through it. I'm skipping meals. I had one meal today, and I'm gonna have probably a snack because I don't have enough. I have 200 won in my bank account, which is less than 2 cents in U.S. money. Like, I have nothing until the beginning of next month, when I can get help from my parents again to pay my rent. Like, I have nothing. Expired ketchup. I ate chicken nuggets with expired ketchup yesterday. Because I can't afford to throw it away and it tasted fine. Like, I'm exhausted. I can't do that, So, there's nothing wrong with the marriage visa. But the way that you behave once you get that privilege visa, and if you're a woman on that visa, it's not as much of a privilege as it is if you're a man on it. Because a lot of times for the women, they give you 1 year at a time. Your marriage isn't going to end in 1 year, I hope. So why would they only give you 1 year at a time? And they're like, well, if you have a kid, we'll give you another year. That's not true. You have to have multiple children for them to give you a 2-year-long visa. And then every 2 years, you have to renew again. And they're like, if you have more than 3 children, we'll give you a 5-year visa. Are you fucking kidding me? They're like, oh, you need to be an incubator in order for us to deem you worthy of living here, even though you're married to a citizen and you all live here and you're raising Korean kids here. So if you were deported, those kids would be left with their father and no primary parent. Because a lot of times the father's working and the mother, if they can afford it, is a housewife. The Korean immigration office would leave a half Korean child without a mother, a half Korean infant without a mother, just to prove a point that they don't fucking want a foreign woman in this country. Like, it's disgusting behavior. It's a very, 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 very eugenics and nationalistic based country. So keep that in mind. Like, they have a reason for thinking the way that they think, and it's because the system is set up to do that. It's not because they're evil. It's how they think, because that's how they were raised, and that's how the society is built, because that's how America built it to be. Sorry, I'm burping. America built it to be that way after the Korean War. America was like controlled a lot of how Korea is today. America influenced that a lot, like severely. It's not a Korean idea to lock out foreigners at the expense of Koreans. It literally is an American ideology. It's pretty gross. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about foreigner insecurities and Korean nationalism. So foreigners, again, like I said, a lot of times they're taking their own insecurities and their own, like, oh, well, like, I didn't get treated very well, but now I found one that treats me good, so I'll stick with him, and then I'll just, like, shit on everybody else because I found my spot up to heaven, and now you can find your own way up. Like, that's not very nice. You don't have to help other foreigners, but you don't get to be like, oh, I want solidarity. And then when one man chooses you and he pulls you up like the aliens in Toy Story, and then you're just like, I'm not coming back. Fuck you. You should have been chosen first. Like, that's crazy. That's insecurity. So ableism, I've already talked about the invisible disability ableism in Korea. A lot of times is a stereotype of it. So the cartoonishly exaggerated version of something is what is seen to be the only version of it, if it's not something that you yourself have experienced. I once was vomiting and fainting so much every time I tried to sit up, not even stand up, but sit up. And then my Korean friend was like, well, I also sometimes faint when I stand up, but that doesn't stop me from doing things I need to do. That's not an excuse to cancel hanging out. Are you fucking kidding me? That's crazy. So, like, that's very common in Korea. They've normalized that, or sometimes they just lie to shame you into doing something because they think that you're making it up and being dramatic, and you're not, because you're actually disabled. Ableism against pregnant people is tied to misogyny and sexism as well in Korea. You know, this part, ableism and sexism and all that shit, is against Koreans also, not just foreigners. Xenophobia against disabled pregnant people, again, the ties are to sexism. So the ranking of how Korean society views human beings goes as such: rich, straight Korean men, not rich, straight Korean men, rich, gay, but quiet about it Korean men of all social classes. Like gay, but like we keep that at home kind of a thing. And then straight, rich Korean women, straight, not rich Korean women, gay Korean women of all social classes, just keep it quiet. And then children, Korean children, Korean infants, or Korean teens, Korean children, Korean infants, and then, well, I think elderly people are now kind of below the adults, but above the children. The things are shifting, and it's really strange. But anyway, that's the thing. So then below that, there's Korean infants, and then there's Korean fetuses, and then there's rich, straight, foreign men, white foreign men, rich, straight, or not, you know, it goes as such, right? White is on top, and Korean supremacists are deluded enough to believe that they sit at the throne, on the right hand of the throne of the white supremacists. They think that they're brothers in their supremacy. And I don't know how to tell them nicely that they will never, ever, ever be human in the eyes of white supremacists. From inside the den, don't go in there. You're not welcome. Right? Same way I don't try to buddy up to Koreans who prefer me because of my race. I know that you're going to betray me because I'm not your race. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. And also it's shitty to take advantage of that. It's gross. So, like, that's the thing. That's the important thing there. It's very, very common with that. Ableist dog whistles and microaggressions. Yeah, we've already talked about that. And then potential solutions and alternatives. We talked about solutions and alternatives for the video content that is kind of gross. We've gave some good examples and everything. Honestly, educate yourself about, like, if you're a foreigner and you're traveling to Korea, ask actually present in Korea right now, not had been to Korea, currently living in Korea for more than 2 years. People, right? Ask marginalized people, especially, who live in Korea right now, who are foreigners, who have lived there for more than 2 years, or 2 or more years. You're going to get the most accurate responses to help prepare you. Also, you can ask in the expat groups or the immigrant groups. If you're a woman, you can join the expat immigrant women groups. That would be probably the safest place to ask questions, because every expat group are typically full of like nasty trolls and shitty people, which is funny because you can tell it's the men because they're not allowed in the women's groups, and the women's groups aren't like that. It's interesting. It's really interesting behavior. If you want to get a certain type of visa or live in a certain area, ask people who have recent, longer term experience with that. Just throwing it out there, just going, hey, what are some things I should know before I come to Korea? What are some things I should pack before I come to Korea? Don't just Google it. Also ask people in Korea right now who moved there. If you're a Korean and you're looking to learn more about how to welcome foreigners into your country or to your community or to your life, don't treat us like we're babies. Don't clap for us when we can use chopsticks. That's very, very, very patronizing. Don't assume that we need a fork when we go out to eat. Don't assume that we can't read something. Don't try to like make a game out of whether or not you can read a thing in Korean. Don't assume we don't know daily shit. Don't assume that we're stupid. Don't assume that your country is so special that we can't understand something very basic. Treat us the way you would treat a Korean friend, but just talk in whatever language you normally talk to that friend in, the foreign friend. If you wouldn't do it to a Korean, don't fucking do it to a foreigner. We can tell when you're being rude. Staring is rude. I don't care if you haven't seen a foreigner that looks like me before. Don't fucking stare at me. That's so rude. I don't care if you've never seen a black person before. Don't fucking stare at her. That's rude. I don't care if you've never done whatever before. Don't stare at that person. We know we're people. We know when you're being rude. Also, don't lie about what Korean culture is to try to get away with something. Don't make an excuse. Own up to it when you're wrong and apologize. That will get you so much farther than trying to cover it up and then gaslighting your way out of it. That's not for the majority of Koreans. That's for some, and they're not watching this video and they're not listening, and they will never take that advice because they'll never apologize because they're never wrong. That is important to know. If you are in Korea, if you're Korean in Korea and you have the inclination to get defensive when someone calls you out for something that hurt them, don't take on that defensiveness. Let that wall down and go, oh, I'm sorry that I hurt you. Do you mind explaining more about why it hurt you? Open your mind to learn why it was hurtful. Just like they should learn your culture when they come to your country, you should meet them partially there, okay? It's important that when culturally adjusting, you need some level of like support. And someone who's like, you either meet me where I am or you die, on either side is not a good match for assimilation or for moving abroad. So when you're saying, hey, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to let you figure out how to be Korean like me. And I'm going to like make fun of you if you don't, or I'm going to shame you if you don't. You're not a good friend. You're a bad person. You're mean. You're mean. That's mean. That's really fucking mean. Because guaranteed that foreigner wouldn't leave you alone to struggle in their country if they brought you to their country. A lot of countries are very welcoming to foreigners, at least individual people or communities might be even more so. Like in America, if you are Korean and you go to America, first of all, don't go there while Trump is in office. It's dangerous. Second of all, if you do go there, let's say before Trump, pre-Trump, pre-first Trump, I should say, you would be able to go to my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri, and go, oh, I don't know where I'm going. And then in broken English, just ask almost any person. Tap them on the, well, maybe don't touch them, just go, hey, excuse me, I'm lost. Can you help me? And they will probably help you. Like, that's the way that my hometown is like a metropolitan city that has high rates of murder. And even then, people are like pretty chill. Like my old roommate got held at gunpoint and forced to be a getaway driver. He hopped in her car and held a gun to her head and then was like, drive me this way. And she was kind of new to the town because she moved from another state. And so she was like, I don't know where I'm going. And he gave her directions. And then after he got out, he was like, thanks, and he left. That's how our criminals are. If you're nice, obviously don't like always comply. I'm not saying that she was nice by complying with him, but like in that case, he was a polite criminal, which is so crazy. St. Louis is a wild place, but the people there are typically very, very, very nice to outsiders because our city has a long history of accepting foreigners into our city. If you need help, ask. And we will almost always help you. In Korea, foreigners are helping people more than Koreans are. Sorry. Crazy. In Korea, foreigners are helping Koreans more than Koreans are helping Koreans. That's so sad. I had a lady who got punched in the face by her husband on the street, and a bunch of people saw it and nobody did anything, and she locked eyes with me and made her way across the street to come ask me for help because she saw that I looked worried, and she said, I asked you because foreigners will help more than Koreans will. She was Korean. It broke my fucking heart to hear that she can't even trust her own people to help when she's about to be killed by her abusive husband. Her face was bloody. Like, he punched her one time, she was bleeding, dripping out of the mouth. Like, I don't know if she's alive now. I don't know where she went after that, but I took her to a cafe. I sat with her until the manager of the cafe could come out and sit and help her call the police and file a police report, and then I went home. She came to me, a person that she can't even properly communicate with between languages, in one of the most traumatic moments of her life, because she knew I wouldn't say no to helping her, but she knew that her own people would. That's really fucking sad. King Sejong is weeping in his tomb. Like, that's so sad. That's so fucking sad. Like, oh, yikes. Yuck. Sad. Ooh, I wanna end the video. I'm sad now. But another bit of a word of advice for Gyopos. If the Koreans don't accept you, don't take that as a personal attack. If they don't accept you in the first place, why do you want to be accepted by them? It doesn't make you less Korean because Koreans don't like you. You're still Korean. You're not less Korean because you were raised abroad. That's not real. That's just bullshit. That's just trying to shame you into falling in line with their status quo, which is not a healthy status quo, as you can tell from all of the early in-life cardiac events, the slower slide rates, the burnout rates, all this other bullshit. They're doing physical attacking over exam papers to cheat. Like, hey guys, relax. Like, you don't have to get 100 on every exam. It's fine, right? Why would you want to be accepted into a community that hates you for being raised the way you were raised? Don't let that eat you away. You deserve to be in this country just as much as anybody else does. You deserve to connect with your homeland, your motherland, your country, your culture as much as you want to. You deserve to be here as much as you want to. Don't let shitty people take that away from you. And do not let them turn you evil. But also understand if your foreign coworkers and colleagues aren't really quick to trust you because they've probably been burned before. So just take it easy. Also, a word of advice for anyone starting a job in Korea, Korean, Gyopo, foreigner, otherwise, right? Don't fucking make waves. If your boss knows your name, that's a bad sign. You might want to run. Okay? There's no such thing as a boss knowing your name for a good reason, because it will never be a good reason, because it's going to turn into a bad reason immediately when you can't up the quality again and again and again until it's unreasonable, right? Keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, keep your eyes to yourself. Imagine you're on a metro train, personal experience, you're on a metro train and there's several drug deals happening around you, gang drug deals, and you see them, but then they see that you see them, and then you go, just looking at my phone. I'm just reading a book on a blank screen. You saw nothing. You heard nothing. You will say nothing. Okay? That's how you need to treat your work in Korea. Go to work, do what you're asked to do, and leave for the day at the time that you clock out. Don't do shit else. Don't do shit else. Unless you're about to lose your job and you need it for like your visa or something. Otherwise, there's so many other jobs that will take you. It's literally fine. Don't worry about that. Okay. Anyway, I gotta go. That's my thing. Like, the ableism, the xenophobia, it's all oh my god, I forgot the word. Intersectional. I was like, not interconnected. It means interconnected. It's all intersectional. And a very good way to see it is this in Korea. This particular example in Korea. Alright, having indigestion. Gotta eat a snack. Goodbye.